My name is Thabo Shole-Mashao. I am in for Clement Manyathela. We're together till 12. This is the last lap of the show. We kicked off at 9 o'clock with an open line. And the previous hour between 10 and 11, we were just looking at motoring in South Africa, the trends in 2026. And we delved deeper, unintentionally so, into the EV market. Hybrids and EVs. A lot of you had questions about EVs. How long does it take to charge? How much kilometers does it give you if you charge at home? If you charge along the road, the implications, the battery life, and all of that. And I think your questions were practical and very much useful. I'd like to apologize profusely for not taking all the calls and for not accepting all the voice notes that came through. We had so much of them. So I'm not in any way devaluing your contributions. I am not in any way thinking that I was ignoring what you had to say. So I know that your questions were valid and were important, significant, just as all would be treated. However, it was purely because of time, and I don't want you to hold it against us and the station in any way. I don't have anything against you. I know some people can take things personally. I just want to put it on record that it was purely because of time. I was not picking and editing and censoring questions. I know it feels frustrating when you have sent a question through to a radio station and they don't necessarily put it on air. You may somehow feel offended. So I want to apologize for that, sincerely. It was mainly the volume and nothing to do with you personally or the nature or the content of the question. So we're still friends, right? Yeah, I like that. So stay tuned till 12 o'clock, especially now, because we're getting into relationship focus. And I know this is one of your favorite features. It happens every Friday between 11 and 12. And today we will be looking at repairing and reconnections in relationships. 9 after 11.
Relationship issues
Relationship talk.
on 702.
Relationships require some immense nurturing, and they're very complicated, I would know. And you need those to foster connections and communication. It's very hard to live as an island by yourself, especially in the intimate world. And while conflict in a relationship is inevitable, and the art of repair is one of the most powerful skills. How do you reconnect? How do you repair? And you need to develop that, because even if a relationship collapses, you still need another one. And how do you develop that into your intimate life? And it transforms conflict into connection, pain into understanding, perhaps, and distance into a little bit of closeness every now and then. And repairing is not a one-time fix, but an ongoing practice. And it keeps relationships healthy and strong. By approaching repair with openness and vulnerability, you can turn conflict into opportunities for a deeper connection. By adapting the quality of repair, you will create something rare and create, I suppose, a deeply meaningful connection, a relationship that feels like home. And of course, when I say all of this, it sounds like I am somehow quoting a movie where everything is rosy and works out beautifully at the end as we walk into the sunset. It doesn't happen like that, but it doesn't mean we should stop trying, right, for that ideal. And my guest is none other than your favorite, our relationship coach, Leigh Joy, my friend. Leigh, thanks for joining us once again. Always lovely seeing you. Good morning.
Good morning, woohoo, Friday, Friday.
Friday it is, and that's what Mandy Winner calls it as well, Friday. And I'm wondering, do we feel as enthusiastic about repairing a relationship as we would about being excited for a Friday ahead of a brilliant long weekend?
Oh, it is a long weekend, and next weekend's a long weekend.
Oh my goodness me, are we just not lucky to be South African?
I think that, repair gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
In the sense of where, conflict difficulties get a bad rap. Should I put it that way? And I want people to get excited about repair. That's why I really wanted us to have this conversation today. Is like, okay, the health of a relationship is not determined by the amount of conflict or the conflict that is, unless obviously it's toxic and abusive. That's and it is an aside. But conflict gets a bad rap because people don't know how to repair, or they do know how to repair, but they take too long. And there's a loss of trust in that process. So I want people to get excited about repair, because I think that repair is, and you can speak to like the Gottmans, John and Julie Gottman. They started the Gottman Institute. They're the big. They started this conversation years ago. They've done over. They started in the 70s. I don't want to lie. It's something like 60 or 90,000 interviews of couples.
What?
And they've said that one of the cornerstones of longevity within a relationship is the ability to repair. So I've gone and unpacked repair a little bit within my own coaching practice and speaking to clients and looking at their patterns of repair, and even in my own life. And there are two things that have come to my awareness. One is how we speak. So tone often affects somebody's ability to absorb what the other person is saying, and often a phenomenon known as flooding happens, which means that people shut down their thinking when they're overloaded with a tone or a word that triggers them. So when a person is overloaded or flooded, they shut down, retaliate, or avoid. So I wanted to chat today about what is happening when you're flooded. What happens when you're shut down, you want to avoid, and you don't want to have the conversation. And often we'll go away and we'll be we retaliate, right? And we make it bigger and it gets messy. And so what I wanted to have a conversation was to almost distill, and almost like a matrix moment, like come into that moment. Think about that moment when you're feeling shut down, you want to retaliate, you're feeling flooded. What happens inside of you? Because if we can become present about what's going on inside of me and almost put a brake on what's happening outside of me, I think that, and I know it for myself, it's worked really well, is that I'm able to respond in a way that's growthful for myself and for the couple and for my partner. So I want to take it in steps. So the first step would be to identify, what am I feeling right now? Take a breath. What am I feeling? I'm feeling frustrated. Look at the feelings wheel. The feelings wheel is very helpful in being able to identify how we're feeling. So I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling humiliated. I'm feeling abused. What is the feeling that I'm feeling? And then to think, well, am I so overwhelmed with this feeling that I actually can't engage right now, that I need to take a step away and say, listen, I know that this is important, and I would love to have this conversation with you when we're both calm and collected. I need a moment. Can I speak to you at such and such? Can I speak to you tonight? Can I speak to you in an hour? Can I speak to you tomorrow? But be clear to say when you'd like to have that conversation. So there are 4 steps. So it's identify the feeling, it's examine the feeling, and then evaluate the feeling, and then take action. So when we identify the feeling so remember, we're stopping the conflict and we're looking at ourselves. So if we identify how we're feeling, Thabo, then the next step would be, how old am I that's feeling this feeling? Am I 4? Am I 14? Am I 24? Am I 30? I'm just using those numbers as an example.
Yeah, they're not lottery numbers by any chance for tonight's Powerball, right?
I wish. So, Thabo, if we identify the age, so if we look at say I'm 40, it's my 14-year-old that's responding and is rebellious and is just going to destroy whatever's going on around me. It wants to sabotage. We're able to, I encourage people to then go and journal how that person, that inner child, is feeling. So give that part of myself
Sure.
a voice. So we call it internal family systems, IFS. When you can identify the various parts of us, the different ages of us, so that we can come to repair within, so that we can repair with
Externally.
outside of ourselves.
I would ask a very stupid question, but with great intention. Before you apply all of those, what is the contextual situation? Leigh and Thabo are in the middle of a heated argument. You are telling me how useless I am and how I'll never become anything, and I'm just screaming back at you, saying that I am far better in my worst than you would be at your best. And when is the right moment to identify? After the conflict, in the middle of that conflict, where is it best to pause and identify that? And who should identify that? The aggressor, or meaning the initiator of this venom that's been spewed, or the recipient who then reciprocated?
Firstly, they're never stupid questions. I love all questions. They're valid, and there are people online going, "Thank you, Thabo, for asking that question." So, this practice that I'm encouraging people to start practicing is when you feel the heat of a statement or something that is triggered, that feels like you're being triggered. So let me describe a triggered state. A triggered state is where your emotions are heightened and your logic kind of switches off, because there's a part of your brain that's been switched off, right? So you're thinking, okay, well then how can I be logical when I'm triggered? How can I be logical in that moment? So my experience has been with my clients and myself, the more we practice it, the better we become at it. So we get triggered and we know, okay, you know what? Right now, anything that I say is not going to be helpful, except for I've got to come back to you. I've got to walk away before it becomes that, very hateful, abusive interaction. So I'm really saying, when you feel like you're already starting to feel out of control of your own emotions, take a break. Walk away, not in an ugly way. Like say, I'll be back. I'm just feeling overwhelmed right now. Because the damage that we do to relationships when we speak words of venom, as you've said very well, is it knacks I love the Afrikaans word, it's like it bends or it breaks the foundation of a relationship. Yes, one can repair, and we'll talk about that. How does one repair? But my thing is, firstly, let's look at how we damage our relationships and stop doing that, and then come back and repair where we haven't created as much damage.
Would it take a very reasonable, mature, and sensible person to recognize that moment that you've spoken of and described it as being triggered, and in order for them to retreat, meaning that you have to be in tune with yourself so much, and whereby it is extremely difficult because you are just receiving assault after assault, verbally at least. And now you must put these assaults aside and your pain aside and say, this situation is toxic. What level of maturity does it require and attainment thereof in order for you to say, can we chat later? I'm coming back.
So I've taught teenagers this. I've taught tweens this this technique. So no, it doesn't have anything to do with maturity.
Okay.
It's got to do with a choice that one makes. I think there are patterns of dysfunctional communication that we've gotten stuck in, and when we feel like we're being humiliated or we feel like we're being put down, we have 4 trauma responses: fight, flight, free, or freeze. and fawn is the fifth one. So when we can acknowledge that, so let's look at flight, right? I would say that flight is the best response in a toxic, ugly, hateful situation, because nobody's going to win there. It's just going to be destructive to both people. But now I'm talking about a trauma response. So it's a reflex.
Yeah.
It's not a thought thing. Like I might flee in one situation and in another situation fight.
Yeah.
So it's a very valid point that you're asking, in that, so I might be in a situation where I find myself retaliating, and then I'm like, no, but I don't want to get stuck in, I want to protect my peace. That's what I've been working with my clients around, and that I've been working with myself, is I want to protect my peace. And the way that I protect my peace is by walking away from this very heated situation, because nothing's going to come right in this nothing's going to get solved in a heated situation. Nothing's going to get solved, because it's just they're arrows and slings that are being slinged at each other.
How do you know, Leigh, whether to repair or to remove the problem, which may be a relationship in this instance? So how does it get to a point where you are saying, let me repair or let me remove? And I think that would be a very important decision, and identifying and distinguishing the choices would be either detrimental or extremely productive for that relationship.
So repair for me is, even if you're going to end a relationship, you can still have a repair before you end the relationship. So it's like that we've agreed to disagree, and we're agreeing that our relationship no longer serves either one of us, and we're therefore going to terminate the relationship. That is a form of repair.
Relationship issues
Relationship Talk
on 702.
27 minutes after 11 o'clock, Leigh Joy is my guest. This is Relationship Focus. My name is Thabo, in for Clement, together with you till 12. I've asked you to send through your thoughts and your views, especially about repairing and reigniting, repair and reconnection in relationships. Our relationship coach, Leigh Joy, is navigating us through this complex journey of relationships. And earlier on, we were speaking about going away and just taking a break. If you feel that the argument is heated, you need to opt for the flight route as opposed to fight. And Leigh, I was asking before we go into the news headlines shortly, I wanted to find out from you, because relationships are generally volatile, and I don't want to pretend as though they are very easy, and to pretend that the solutions are something that anyone can do. Because once that argument has started, you want to register your views, but also, as you're saying that people must go away, it could be that the other partner, as you try to go away, they force you in through manipulative and very negative ways, nefarious ways of doing so, by perhaps as you're walking away, you're always like that. Anyway, you've been a coward all your life. You see, when I try to talk to you walking away, this has just been the story of our lives, and that somehow magnetizes you back into that toxic pool.
Yeah, totally. I would call them hooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I think it takes a lot of maturity, which is not age dependent. To be able to say, you know what, this is not helpful for either of us. This is not helpful for our relationship. I can see that you're upset, and I'd love to come to the bottom of this, but it's not going to happen at this level of heat and anger.
Yeah.
So I suggest both of us walk away. And that doesn't mean we're cowards. That means that we actually love our relationship, and we want to nurture our relationship, and we want to nurture each other. I'm not going to take part in destroying you, and I'm not going to allow you to destroy me.
Yeah. And
see you in 30 minutes. See you in an hour. See you tomorrow.
And
don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out.
And I'm not belaboring this, but they still say stuff because they're still heated. So you must just intentionally walk away.
Walk away. Close your ears and walk away, because anything, I call them thought worms, where it goes into the thought. When someone says something ugly, it goes into your brain, messes with your brain,
Yeah.
and pierces your heart.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when there's somebody starts, their voice starts elevating,
Yeah.
nothing good's going to come out of that. And I
Sure.
close my ears and I walk away.
Relationship issues
Relationship Talk.
on 702.
Leigh Joy is my guest, 25 minutes to 12 o'clock. Welcome back to the show. 011-883-0702. I'd love to hear from you about your particular relationship as far as repair and reconnection is concerned. What did you do to repair it, and was it repairable to start off with? Share with us, and it's always a safe space, because your contribution may be assisting someone out there to somehow face their reality, wrestle with their conscience, and perhaps even get some sort of solution, or if at all, a logical closure that they may need. Let us know on 011-883-0702. It could be that you're going through that and you want to ask Leigh a question right now, and this is a great opportunity to do that on 011-883-0702. Alternatively, drop us a WhatsApp message or text, voice note on 072 702 1702. Leigh, how do you repair?
So I've had a flurry of new clients that are connecting with me that have been married over 20 years, and they're looking to repair, not just repair, but almost have a new relationship. They're, the kids are leaving home,
Yes.
and they're suddenly looking at each other going, "Who are you?" I want to know who you are. And I want to get to know you, and let's create the next part of our journey. So if that's where you find yourself and you'd like to go on a journey of reconnecting and rediscovering each other, please contact me on 079 525 8991. So that's one way to repair, is come for therapy and have a cheerleader that can help you navigate those difficult conversations. My clients, I'm sure, who are not, obviously they want to keep their anonymity, so they wouldn't readily send in messages. But the clients that have been grateful for the work that we've done together have done very brave work in sitting and being honest with themselves and honest with each other about what their feelings are and how they're feeling, and taking ownership for their feelings so that they don't project those feelings onto another. And that's what this takes, this process that I'm talking about, is saying, I love me, I love you, I love us, and I want to be able to repair in a way that grows us and nurtures us and heals us. I love you and I love us, and I wanna find another way.
Sure.
So the first step for me would be to identify the feelings within me. Right now, I'm not capable of having a cool, calm, collected conversation. Or I am, but my partner clearly isn't.
Not.
So then I've got to give them an opportunity and say, listen, I can see that you're upset. I understand that you're upset. And I think we should just take 10 minutes, and when you're feeling like you can have a calm conversation with me, let's do that, because I really care about you and I care about us, and I want to fix this. So even in that is a repair. Even in that, Esther Perel talks about, she's a Belgian psychologist, she talks about bids for connection. And bids for connection is somebody can be nasty, and you can say, we're going to come back to this, and say, offer them a cup of coffee. So it's a bid for connection. You may not be repairing that actual situation, but you're still keeping the connection strong.
And without dealing your business a nasty dent, can you repair without counseling?
I mean, I think, it's a good question. See, when I have clients that come and see me, Thabo, I call it the sweeping it under the rug and then tripping over the rug.
Yeah.
So if you're in your relationship able to deal with things that you're able to let it go, because there's a difference between letting it go
Yeah.
and putting it under the rug.
Yes.
So if you're struggling with and you find yourselves either one or both putting it under the rug and tripping over it, it's probably a good idea to come for a couple of sessions
Yeah.
to navigate what's underneath the rug, take it
Yes.
out from underneath the rug so that you can let it go.
Yeah.
But try write a list of the things that are under the rug for you and go and have a conversation with your partner and say, listen,
But
these
it
are
would be
the things.
harder, right? Because also there's no mediator between the two of you, so it would make it a little bit of a steep hill
Yeah.
to climb because it's the two of you. You've been there many times before, and you only know one route to get to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. I think there are two words that are detrimental to any relationship,
Yeah.
and that can be a love relationship, it can be a parental relationship, it can be a friendship. Is always and never, and they're what I call inflammatory words. So they're there to sting, and they're very dangerous because they don't take into consideration the other experience of life. Because when we say you're always like this and you're never like that, we're saying that we've never noticed anything else than your bad behavior. And who
Yeah.
wants to be in a relationship when that is the other person's viewpoint of you?
Yeah, no one.
Nobody wants to be in that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the first things that I do is when I find one or both of the couples saying always and never, I say that they have to start making it a game. So if the one says never or always, then I encourage them to put R5 in a jar,
yeah.
and they got to drop and give, like 5 push-ups or, make it fun and giggle and laugh about it. But start eradicating that kind of language from your
Lexicon.
vocabulary
Yeah.
because it's very destructive.
I want us to take this call. Apologies to interrupt you, Leigh. Just want to bring in Kevin on the line quickly. Kevin in Midrand, I won't paraphrase your question. That's why you called, to say it in your own voice. Good morning. Welcome.
Hey, thank you, and great show as always. Leigh Joy, my question is, based on your theme about repair and rebuild, I have my partner. It's been a 10-year relationship, but my partner is extremely argumentative and defensive. So it doesn't matter what it is. She will just oppose it. So
Yeah.
you could tell her the sky is blue today, and she will find a reason to just argue that it's not blue. So my question to you is, how do you have a conversation about building and repair with someone who is argumentative, number one, and number two, you can't have a conversation where you explain to her that this is where you're at fault and this is what we need to fix, because she's just going to get defensive and find a reason to argue about it.
Yeah, hang 10. Let me throw that question over to Leigh as you're asking about a vociferous opposition party at home that you are living with. Tell me about it. Leigh, I want to hear this answer.
Kevin, thank you so much for your for phoning in and sharing your question, because I think it's like 99.9% of people online are like, yay, thank you, Kevin. There's when I win, we lose, right? When I want to win, and at all costs I want to win, then we lose.
Yeah.
So when somebody's argumentative and defensive, that viewpoint is I have to win at all costs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the conversation then needs to shift from the topic of why she is getting defensive, and for Kevin, for you to become curious about why does she feel defensive. So it's to ask her, I'm feeling curious that I can see you're upset and I can see that you want to defend how you're feeling, and I'm wanting to know what's going on for you right now. And she said, no, she'll probably go into the facts of why you guys are having an argument.
Yeah.
But then, Kevin, for you to be able to have the wherewithal to say, I understand that you're upset. I understand that this is a frustrating conversation, but we're not getting anywhere if we can't have a conversation where we are wanting to grow and learn from the situation. So I call it the sandwich effect. So the first part would be to say, in this situation, Kevin, I can see that you're upset.
Yeah.
And the meat part of it would be, and your defensiveness and argumentative nature is standing in the way of us being able to have a conversation about this. What can in the second bun of the sandwich, or the bread of the sandwich, is what can we do so that you can feel more calm, so that you don't have to feel defensive and you don't have to argue with me, but that we can just have a conversation about this. So it's I see that you're upset. So it's acknowledging, identifying how the other person is speaking. You're talking about what's not working. You being defensive and argumentative isn't helping us resolve the situation. Because I don't want to argue with you. I want to consult. I want us to consult with each other about a solution.
Yeah.
How can you and I do that?
Yeah. And in most instances, such individuals who are so defensive and who don't reflect and everyone else is wrong except them, they are not even willing to entertain that moment of rationality at all. They are just blowing a gasket even more when you are trying to be calm, because they've got a position to contend for.
So that's when therapy is really important, because to bring someone into therapy and to speak about, listen, these are the things that we struggle with.
Yeah.
You know, this is the way that we communicate. And I teach a very specific communication style called imago therapy.
Yeah.
So I teach people how to listen to each other. There's often an underlying reason from a person's childhood that they become like that. So I can think of somebody that was spoken over a lot as a child.
Yeah.
Like his brothers and his father spoke over him all the time. So
Yeah.
he never really got an opportunity to share.
Yes.
So when he gets into a disagreement with somebody, he flares up and like takes it up 10 notches.
Yeah.
Because he feels like he needs to be heard. He's
Yeah.
scared that he's not going to get heard.
Yeah.
So when somebody is in that state and you say to them, I can, what you have to say to me is really important.
Yeah.
And I really want to hear what you have to say. But when you're shouting at me like this, I can't hear you nicely.
Sure.
Because I get defensive.
Yeah.
And I get argumentative. So I'm asking you just to tone down your language, tone down your voice,
Yeah.
and let's have a conversation about it. And if you can't do that, then we need to go our separate ways. And when you're feeling calm, to come and do that.
Yeah.
So it's
Sure.
it's acknowledging that you're seeing the
Yeah.
other person, you know, freaked out.
Let's go to the text messages that have just come through on Relationship Focus. We are looking at repair and reconnection in relationships. Leigh Joy is my guest. She's a relationship coach and also a podcaster on relationships. And I'm sure that now and then you might want to catch a podcast that deals with all these issues. And she'll tell us about that before she leaves. Good morning, Thabo and Leigh. The text message says, relationships are important to keep us as families, friends, and colleagues and neighbors. We all need wisdom. Other people are psychologically affected. We are not specialists too, but we have to listen from Leigh's advice. We also have our flaws and mistakes. We must understand one another instead, because we also need relationships through life. Temba in Johannesburg, thanks for that. You're right. Once you try bring rationality in the picture and listen and have a conversation, she twists things and thinks you are playing smart now and patronizing her. Aye, kunzima. It is difficult indeed. Hey Thabo, thanks for a great show. We are at our wits' end. Over 20 years of marriage, we can't talk to each other anymore, and our efforts end up in fights. She's more attacking, forces her views, never allows you to walk away when things get heated, insists and pushes. She plays the blame game and everything is one-sided, never about her. Now we just stare at each other, not sure if there's a way out for us except to part ways. Kids are almost grown. This has always been a reason enough for me for staying. I'm not sure anymore. Your story is relatable to a million other people out there. Leigh, over to you.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that we're speaking first to the to Temba. Thank you very much for your support and for your message, and then to the next caller, messenger. I think there are maladaptive ways that we develop within relationships, Thabo, and especially when we've been together for a long time. And when there's kids in the home, and then when they leave, there's suddenly this void, this gap between us. And so I do really powerful work in that space with couples to learn to first look at what's under the carpet, what is tripping them up, and then teach them how to let it go, and then to start going into redating each other, and because they are fundamentally different people than who they got married to. And that always and never thing comes up, which acts as a barrier to connection. So, phone me, get hold of me and come and see me, and let's have a conversation. I mean, obviously there's some relationships where people are just not in the mood to, they just refuse to change. And then those are decisions that they make. But couples that really want things to be different and they want to have happier lives, they come for therapy.
Sure. Repeat those numbers quickly for me, Leigh.
079 525 8991.
One more time.
079 525 8991.
Let's take a voice note that came through to 0727021702.
Hi, 702. Great show as always. I have a question for Leigh Joy. My partner is extremely argumentative and defensive. She will argue that the sky is not blue if you give her a reason to. So my question to you is, how do you repair and rebuild in a scenario like that? Because one, this person will argue no matter what it is. And secondly, if you raise where you think they're at fault, they're going to become argumentative. So how do you solve for a scenario like that? Because for me, it's a lose-lose, because she's just going to argue, she's going to get defensive. So underlying issues are never resolved or fixed.
Yeah.
FYI, this is a 10-year relationship. We've been going on like this. So a lot of things are left unresolved, and emotions unaddressed.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point where it's probably best where I walk away and heal myself.
Yeah. Clearly, a lot of couples are fighting about the color of the sky.
Yeah.
And now, in 20 seconds, I'm sure we've touched on that.
So the I think the part that I didn't touch on is when we stop blaming people and say, when you do this, this is, stop doing this, stop doing that, instead of saying, sharing about our feelings. So being, I'm trying to think quickly in 20 seconds. I'm like, I can't think of an answer. But is to own your feelings and to share with the person, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, and when you're argumentative with me, I feel like you're wanting to win instead and get one over me, and I don't understand why that's necessary for you.
Tell me, your podcast, what is it again?
Yes, it's called The Elephant in the Room Show. We're in the seeding process, so we're looking for sponsors to help us get it out there. It's super exciting. We've got some sponsors on board already. So watch out. It'll be on YouTube and Spotify. Please go to my website, www.leigjoy.co.za, and go and look under media, The Elephant in the Room, and click to get notifications when we start going live.
Always fantastic talking to you. Thanks for your
Thank you.
contribution,
Be
Leigh.
blessed.
Relationship coach, Leigh Joy.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.